still trying to figure this out. I really am. Welcome to the LOUISE book series. I'm Christina, K-R-S-T-I-N-A. This is where I read books, talk about books, no special effects, no theme music, no fancy smashy stuff going on here. What you see is what you get. The old Roots Web, thing. But anyways, we are on, I left my doohickey over there. But we are on book, we gotta use the doohickey. And the other doohickey that I show you in the other videos. You have to check that out. I left it. So this is book 4 in Discovery of Death Clock House Mysteries. And Discovery of Death. And alright, so the yo-yo effect is really, really bad. And I think I'm gonna stop here, I think. I don't know yet, but I'll make the decision later today. But I think I'm gonna stop here for a minute. She's got this is the first book. I've always wanted a book, and I thought I got it like in Caramel Mornings, and there was another one, Miss Ewing, but that's a whole different story. I've always wanted one where they could go back and forth, but not this frequently. Not this conveniently. And I really don't know how to say it. Trying to think here. Let's just go through it, and we'll talk about it as we go through it. Okay, so this lady has this house. It's an old house, and it's been added on to over the years. And her living room is a huge living room situation, and it's got a couple of different doors. And the door to the front of the house, if you go through the door at the front, you go into the living room. You go in the door in the rear of the house, which is the original door. You go back to 1810. Just walk through the door, and you're in 1810. And there's another place. There's a couple of different places that it happens. When Cassie did it, she used her locket or something that she had. And Natasha's just walking through the door. So Natasha and Matthew are still working. I left my notes. I forgot my notes. Are still working through their relationship. They're she, for legal reasons, like he can't get married in 2026 when he was born in 18 something. No, actually 17 something. And no driver's license, no birth certificate, none of that stuff. And she could probably, maybe, sort of, kinda get away with getting married in 1810 to Matthew. But there's no record of her either. And they could probably make stuff up. It's easier to make stuff up in 1810 than it is in 1926. I mean, 2026. But Cassie, the lady who was a constable, who had legal authority to investigate murders, and she was with Luke, a lord, and at least I felt that Cassie had the authority and the motivation to solve these murder mysteries, but they were solving most of them in the past. They weren't solving them in the present. So Natasha is a property owner. She buys property, renovates them, and then either sells them or rents them out as apartments. So she does property stuff in the present time. And this new house, she's going back and she's fallen in love with Matthew. But Matthew is he's illegitimate, so that's what saves her, sort of, kinda. Illegitimate son of a lord. Tobias has taken over the reins. So as long as Tobias lives, he's good, and as long as Tobias produces heirs, he's good. But Matthew's father, who recognizes him even though he's illegitimate, would like him to have children too. And just this book, the Lord finds out about Natasha. But he doesn't, she's like, oh, she's of gentry out in Suffolk or something. And the Lord buys it. And in my sister neighborhoods, devil would have it investigated. But anyways, so they're kind of stuck, and Cassie is in the 2026 head frame of, we can be boyfriend and girlfriend, we can be sort of, kind of cohabbing with no ring on it. Matthew's from the generation or time frame or time period that needs a ring on it. And the frequency in which she travels back and forth, you kind of get that yo-yo feeling. And it almost, well, this is not so bad because this investigation happens in the present day as much as it does in the 1810 day. But in the previous books, the present day is almost like an afterthought. She does all her stuff. When we go into 1810, we do that slow, nice, steady walk. We come back to 2026, it's off with the clothes and off with this and have a meal and run to the store and do this, fill out paper, blah, 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 blah. Alright, back to 1810, let's do that slow walk again. Oh, I gotta go back to the future and do this stuff, do this computer, and then back to 1810, we do the nice walk. So it's just a little... And the POVs didn't change that much. In previous books, they would change, but they don't change too much in this book. And a couple of times it took me a minute, because it changed mid-chapter. And it took me a minute to figure out that this was Matthew and not Natasha. It took me, it was one of those mid-chapter, I'm like, I was sitting down with John, I'm like, oh, okay, it's Matthew. It took a second. And if I remember, because he put a picture up, she's a fan of Dorothy L. Sayers. And, did I write it down? Dorothy L. Sayers was best known for her mysteries, a series of novels and short stories set between the First and Second World War, featuring an English aristocrat, amateur sleuth, Ward Peter Wimsey, which remain popular to this day. So that's a little about Miss Sayers. If I can remember to put one up, I'll put one up. Let me just do her. So, she is, Cassie, like I said, is, where the hell, can I get rid of that? Anyways, Cassie is buying and selling properties, like I said earlier. And she's got this property that she's bought and she's renovating. And the landscaper's doing some landscaping and he finds a skeleton in 2026, whatever year it is. And so Matthew is with her. And Matthew and Frank also travels back and forth, recognizes the signet rings and the clothing as, I wrote his name so many times, Ludwig Washburn. And so Cassie they know who the guy is, and they want to bury him and they talk to the reverend, and the reverend says, yeah, the family has a tomb here, so he's still there have been no more burials allowed on church grounds since XYZ, but because his family already has a tomb here, it is possible that he can go into that tomb, but you need to prove that this is the guy. So they use his hat. They research. The London people, store peoples have records back to the 1800s. Good Lord, would you imagine? Could you imagine stores in the United States having records going back that far? Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Wouldn't that be awesome? I would just love birth, marriage, and death records. But we ain't gonna get that either. So these London peeps help her out tremendously with documentation to prove that this is Ludwig. So she works in the future, in the present day, getting the documentation to prove the guy who is who he is and identifying all the stuff around him. And then they go back in time because she wants to solve the mystery. Now, the characters bring up a good point. And I want to bring up this point too. Because we are told, now see, unlike, what was that lady I was just reading the other day? Oh, good God. I think it was the Sarah Woodbury books. I have to go and check. I don't think it was the Katie Baker series. I think it was the Sarah Woodbury, but don't hold me to it. It's been a couple weeks. And I've been through so many books since. But in one of the, I'm pretty sure it was Sarah Woodbury. The people were changing the past. But when they went to the future, they went to their alternate timeline future. So that when they got back to the future, things were exactly the same. History was the same. But when they go back, they've been changing the history, and they've discovered that they're changing the history in an alternate timeline. But in this series, they don't want to upset anything in the present day that has happened between now and 1810. They don't want to change anything. They're going to live by the Doc from Back to the Future and the space, the continuum thing, I forget, the flux capacitor and all that kind of stuff, where you can't change the past, because what it'll do to the future, you don't know. Of course, Doc and McFly, Marty, discover what happens when you change itty-bitty little things. So, they can't tell people in 1810 about the murder because it won't be discovered till 2020 something, and it would affect the timeline. It may change stuff, and they don't want to affect any change situation, but they want to know who did it. And another thing that bothers me is the fact that Natasha, she doesn't confer with Cassie at all. She has no law enforcement training at all. She's just got her curiosity thing. I've had cozy mysteries where the cozy mystery person works in conjunction with the police, or assists the police, or has interaction with the police. But in these particular books, Natasha has zero interaction with Cassie. I mean, it's like minuscule. There's one point where they do get involved with the archaeologist peoples, and then we never see or hear from them again. They're done. They had their page or two. They're gone. So, Mr. Ludwig is deceased, and he was killed in 1810, and we want to find out who did it. And they have this conversation, and they said, Matthew wants to warn the guy, And discussion ensues. Well, is he still alive or has he already been killed? Well, we later learn he's already been killed in the 1810 timeline. But you can't undo his death in 1810 because we have no idea what would happen in present day. And he argues that he can't stand by and watch the guy die or be murdered, but he's already been murdered. But they don't know that at this juncture. But you haven't got any choice. As we stand here, it's already happened. The same thing happened to me with Reverend Graham. You remember, I saw him in the parish church the day of his death on the list of vicars. I couldn't say anything then, and it was pretty awful. So the vicar's murder, right? I was not leaving him to be buried. It was just some nameless skeleton found in the field. I have absolutely no idea what will have to prove who he is for modern consumption. They decide to do an investigation in this timeline so that the body may be properly buried. But they, where's that paper? I didn't print the rest of it out. They understand and know that even if they discover who, what, why, where, and when of the murderer, there's nothing they can do about it because in the original timeline, the murderer was not discovered or found or anything, and that's what led to the body discovery in present day. So they can't change anything in the past. They do some questioning, but they can't change anything in the future. So as far as the past is concerned, the guy just disappeared. No trace. Presumed dead. They do at the end finally discover who did it. It's a big convoluted thing. And they don't do anything to the person. They tell the person they're not going to tell anybody. It's just going to be between us. We're not going to, and that's it. And they hold the funeral. They actually find living descendants of Ludwig in the present day. And apparently there was a diary kept back in 1810 that explained the entire situation, and that's why the guy knows his lineage and who he really is. He was the illegitimate son, because Ludwig and the wife, the female, never married, and they may have married if he hadn't been killed, although the kid was like 7 or 8 in the time frame here. So he knows that he's descended from Ludwig because of the diary listed all out. And don't you wish all your relatives kept these books? I have an ancestor who bought his wife a family Bible, and they listed themselves and the kids. They did not list parents, their parents. So I have no idea who their parents are or who their grandparents are. I have no idea where they were born or where they came from or nothing. Zero. The wall is cement there. And that is infuriating, frustrating. And they only listed the lady side. They didn't list the male side. So anyways. So that is the end of book 4. Discovery of Death. And the yo-yo-ness is getting to me. The present day being an afterthought. The characters going back and forth. A couple of them are now going back and forth. And her and Matthew have got to figure out their situation at some point. And the lack of involvement, I don't know. I don't know. These books are a good, easy, quick read, but I think I'm gonna go check something out first, and then maybe, I don't know if I'll come back to these or not. We'll see what happens. It's been a day already. Oh, she's sleeping. So, Don't forget to check out Star Trek Next Generation recaps on Friday and/or Star Trek Voyager recaps on Friday. JD Robb Saturday, and If Then Friday. If you like this book, you might like that book. Got a couple different things coming up for September and October. And Unboxing Sundays, Flashback Mondays, could use a few ideas there, and my daily book reviews. And don't forget, every night at 7:45, we're talking about Diana Gabaldon, Echo in the Bone, Written in My Own Heart's Blood, or Go Tell the Bees, which just showed at my shop for $1. And if by the time we finish Bees, the new book has come out, we'll start with the new book. If the new book has not come out, which I don't think it will, we'll go back and start with Outlander. I had started with Echo because that's where I had binged the series, and I started where the series binging ended in 7. So if the new book comes out, we'll do that. Otherwise, we're going to go back to Outlander and do them all snippets. And I need to get back to 101 Uses for a Cat and a couple other things going on here. Have a good one.